Well, g'day everyone. I put a clip up there a few weeks ago. It's poaching time again, where I was sitting on the edge of a gate on one of our landowners' properties. And it's a deer hunting clip, but it's really one of my trapping clips. And again, it's probably a very successful trapping clip, because what I did it for was to draw out the comments from people. I wanted to draw out the poachers and bring them out where they could be seen. I wanted to draw out the hypocrites and draw out the people that will attack landowners before they think about how they'd like to be treated themselves. So I did just that. I trapped a lot of people. So what I'd like to do here is go through those comments with you. And why I've come up here to this fence, this is an old division fence between leasehold and freehold on a landowner's property, and there's a track here, and it's been well worn this year during the red deer roaring season. It's had a lot of wear and tear with people coming along here. There's Jim Bean cans up the top of the hill here, everywhere, with rubbish where people have left their rubbish behind. Anyway, the landowner ripped up here the other day because he thought he could see a vehicle. Ripped up here, and he caught a young bloke here. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I've got permission to come on this lease country here to go for a hunt." And the landowner said, "Righto, okay, that's up to this leaseholder that hasn't got cattle on here. He's just got this lease, cattle grazing permit." And the landowner said to this young fellow, "You've been shooting?" Oh yeah. He said, "I wouldn't shoot on your country." Righto. He said, "That was you that fired the shot before." And he said, "Oh yeah, it was me." He said, "What'd you shoot?" He said, "A 4.5 stag." "Where'd you get it?" He said, "Oh, over in the neighbours." So he thought it was okay to talk to one landowner and say that he's just gone and poached the stag off this landowner's property over here, and that this landowner wouldn't be upset at him, right? And he said, "You left the rubbish up here." No, I didn't leave the rubbish. That was the pig doggers that come through here the other night. 2 carloads of pig doggers come through. And they got them on trail camera up here, coming through. And they feel it's perfectly okay to come through here. Now, this old fence, there's the freehold country, here's the lease. If we had state forest hunting and there was a pig standing here beside this post, do you think those guys wouldn't let their dogs out to have a crack at that boar pig? Too right they will. They'd straight away let, and it's going to end up down here in the freehold country. Now that happens just about every night somewhere here in Queensland, where there's people with their dogs going through fences into private country, stirring landowners up, stirring cattle up, causing troubles. That's happening all the time, right? People see that that's okay, that they should be allowed to do that. And they wonder why then landowners will reject people when they arrive on their property and say, "Can I go hunting on your property?" And the landowner says, get out of here. You won't have any bar of it. Why? Why is that happening? Is because of all the people who have done the wrong thing before you arrive to that front door of that landowner's. People won't wake up to it, that they think the landowner's is big meanie, right? They won't let them on to hunt. What they're not seeing is their own mates that have caused the problem in years gone by, right? So there's two sides to the coin that you should look at before you jump out. But anyway, there's a lot of great comments that have come in here. I'll try and address some of them. They're really having a go at us there. About the safety issues, and saying that I'm out of line by saying that hunters need to pull their heads in and be safer. And there's people saying there's hardly ever been anybody shot in Victoria or New South Wales, and I'm out of line, I'm being irresponsible by saying that, all the rest of it. Well, there's a bloke shot just the other day down there, and a couple of days ago, a 10-year-old kid was shot down there. Now, people, you better just face up to it, that we don't have firearms for self-defence, for personal defence. So you can't say that they had the gun on them to defend themselves, right? They're either target shooting, which should be at a range if they're target shooting, or they were hunting, or they're controlling feral animals for the landowners. If they're controlling feral animals for the landowners, well then that'll come under the landowner's workplace health and safety and under industrial manslaughter legislation and all the rest of it, as we've detailed in some of our previous clips. So what was a 10-year-old child doing with a firearm if they're controlling pest animals? If they're hunting, what was a 10-year-old child doing with a rifle under a New South Wales or Victorian system? Please explain, okay? But they had to be doing something to do with hunting to have that firearm out on a property, okay? Now my heart goes out to the child that was killed. They had their whole life ahead of them. It goes out to the family that have, you know, must be suffering such grief. Terrible, terrible time. So we will see how this pans out. But it should be a lesson to all those people out there that are smart aleck comments about this could never happen, because it has happened. There's so many near misses, and it is happening, and it will happen again unless we tidy our own act up. So let's go back to the truck here to the computer and have a look at some of those clips. Because if you went straight to the Hunting Australia page on Facebook and look at some of these comments that come through, you know, here's one guy that says, you know, first time in state forest and he nearly got shot and he won't go back, okay? Other guys there, how they roared in other people, you know, other blokes in the sites, and one after the other, the comments were coming in, people telling horror stories about near misses, right? I'm not making these up, people. This is written on your own chat pages, right? People criticise me and say you're not checking your facts correctly, McGhie. I'm saying to them, you better check your facts, because there's plenty of this going on. And I go back, I tell the story to people quite often there of my first ever trip into Samba country in Victoria. And I was probably in my 20s. I went out with a good mate there. He's a crack hunter, lovely, lovely guy. Still out there hunting now, George. And we were hunting through, I think it's Goulburn River, if I remember right. We were hunting through there. There's a lot of high crown fern, you know, fern there that's up 4 foot high. Anyway, I was right behind George. He's walking along. He's got his 9.3, under and over, 9.3, beautiful rifle. And he's ready to go. He's ready to fire, because we're right on stag tracks. These stag tracks, fresh as can be, right in underneath us, and we're moving real quiet down this gully, thinking any second this Samba stag would jump up. So I'm right behind him. I didn't have my rifle loaded. I just had it, you know, pointed towards the ground. I'm right behind George. He's looking to his right-hand side, and I looked over his shoulder to the left, and here, about 60 metres away, is a guy in a black trench coat with a black beanie on, and he had a miner's pick in his hand, and he hadn't seen us, and he walked around some of these ferns, and I just glanced, and I saw him like that, saw the movement, and here's this guy, and he bent over and started scratching at the side of the hill with the miner's pick. And this all happened in like an instant. I saw this happen, saw him bend over in the ferns, and George turned around, and all he saw was a black shape moving in the ferns. At the same height of the ferns, this black thing moving. And he threw up the 9.3. And he said, stag. And I said, it's a bloke. He says, it's a stag. Oh, and the fella stood up. And he said, oh, damn, glad you're with me. He said, because I nearly shot him. What that guy was doing, like what possessed that guy to be walking around in Samba country where he knows there's hunters, in a black overcoat and a black beanie, bent over in the ferns, I don't know. There's some people do some dumb stuff. But he's got a right to wear whatever he wants in that country, okay? But that drove it home to me how easily someone could get shot in there when you've got other people doing the different activities in hunting country, right? And it's probably a testimony to how good George was, that he didn't snap a shot straight off. He was watching to you know, pick his target and make sure what he was shooting was the right thing. But it was close. Let's have a look at some of the comments I managed to dredge up. This first guy here, right? I better fuzz out his name, because you'll probably get all antsy if I put his name up there. Mate, I'm hearing you, righto? So he starts off all right that he's hearing us, but he said we stole the land. We're now generating $14 billion a year in export meat, righto? So that's how big the industry is, the sheep, cattle, pig industry. Yes, I'm a poacher. Kick me in the gut. Say whatever, righto? I'm not having a go at poachers. I've tried to say this to people quite often. I started off as a poacher, right? I started off poaching. I shot my first deer in the forestry at Elginvale, okay? I shot it out of the front window of the forest ranger's vehicle because he would go and get Dad to go around and help him shoot a deer for meat in the forestry, right? This is how it was done. But you'd better watch out if you went up there and shot them and left them lie, because the last thing that they would put up with is somebody shooting and wasting the deer, right? So it was, let's say it was like controlled hunting even at that time. You did the right thing, and there was a lot of respect out there, so people did do the right thing in general. Nowadays, people don't. So we go on with this guy here, right? He's been doing it for 50 years like me, right? The deer were put there for hunting. Okay, the deer were put there for hunting, righto. So then the hunters should bear the full responsibility of everything that's gone on. True? No, can't have that, right? The deer might have been put there for hunting, but they are on people's freehold country as well. Okay, so if they're your deer, and this goes right back, I've written poetry about it, I've gone and lectured people at conferences, you name it, all it's the same question. It goes back to the same old question. If they belong to you, the hunters, okay, well then you pay for their damages. If they go on a landowner's crop and wrecks their crop, well, you better pay for that damage they do. And no hunters want to. Oh, no, we're not responsible. They want the rights, but they don't want to take responsibility. If they're on somebody's freehold country, or even leasehold country, or because Queensland's got like 70 different types of leases, right? The majority of Queensland is lease country, okay? So if they're on somebody's private country, they can show you who owns them or not now, because they can kill the whole lot and leave them lie on the ground. That's ultimate ownership. And we don't want to see, I for one don't want to see that. We're seeing it bad enough in other states. Right, this guy's quoting here $250 million allocated in South Australia to wipe all the deer out. And they're going to do it, right? And if you think they're going to stop at South Australia, you've got another thing coming, right? People are quoting they want hunting interstate forests up here, like New South Wales. Well, New South Wales is leading the way for chopper shoots, I think, down there. What did they say? New South Wales and Victoria, 240,000 animals shot and left lie on the ground. And they're only getting better at it. They're getting more money chucked at them. So that's what you guys want. That's what you want in the future. You want more chopper shoots and more baiting and more slaughter, right? Or do you want a control system? You want a sustainable system, right? You've got to take your choice. You can't have your cake and eat it as well. And this with this guy here, unfortunately, this guy here he goes rattling on from one side to the other. You farmers are very rude, can't even spell rude properly, but anyway, rude, arrogant people. From the start, I knocked on door after door trying to get to do the right thing and obtain permission. I even offered to pay for the animal, but they all said no in various ways. Piss off, get off my land, say yes, that's right, I did the right thing, I'm an archer hunter. So then he says, so I go in. So basically, because he got knocked back from the landowner, that gave him a right to go and poach. Those people, right, whoever this guy is, he should put his name up there and address there and say, here's my name and address, okay? And I poach on people's property. And every landowner that reads this should make a beeline for that bloke's property, house, or wherever it is, and rock in, have a swim in his pool, shoot his cat, do crap on the front lawn, chuck the tent out at the back, whatever you want to do, because that guy, he's saying that if you go and ask him permission, he's going to say, no, you can't come and camp in my backyard. He wants rights for himself, but he doesn't want the same rights for other people. So he's been a bloody hypocrite, absolute hypocrite. Now, what he's probably run into there with a lot of landowners, many of those landowners have been approached so many times, and they have been threatened, they've had stock shot, they've had people do the wrong thing so many times that they have got absolutely sick of it. So you can't blame them for saying no to the next guy. So this guy might have been doing the right thing, right? He might have been a really decent guy trying to do the right thing, and he's got knocked back and he's peeved off. Righto. Still doesn't make it right. And you can't say those deer were put there for hunting, so I've got the right to do that. That's absolute bloody hypocrisy. Because if you want that right, if you say, you're right, I'm going to have that right, okay, then you better be prepared to pay for the damages, all the damages that those deer do on private country, but you're not, right? So there's a lot of things in here. You read it right through, and he's talking about taxpayers' money. Had the farmers allowed us hunters in, there wouldn't have been an explosion in the deer numbers. Rubbish, fellas, rubbish. Recreational hunters can do part of the job, but it really needs a professional approach to keep numbers down. When people are going around enjoying themselves, shooting one or two, okay, that's all very good, and it is all part, and we've always said that, it's part of the whole picture, and it's got to be kept in there, it's got to be preserved. But if you think you can contain a explosion in deer numbers by recreational hunters, you're delusional. It's as simple as that. You're just damn delusional. It gets to the point where you do need to take drastic measures. Righto, and he's saying here, right, if all the deer are gone, the landowners better watch their sheep and cattle. So in other words, he's saying, if I need meat and there's no deer for me to hunt, I'm going to pay sheep and cattle, okay? Well, then I do think that there comes a time when the landowners should be allowed then to take adequate measures to stop those people that are doing that. If they're thieving from them with a firearm, if they're coming on their property and they're going with intent to thieve from that landowner, that should be seen as at least an act of domestic terrorism or absolute armed robbery, and those people should go to jail. So I'm all for stricter sentencing now for people like this who believe they've got a right to if there's no deer, to shoot the landowner's cattle or sheep, right, mate, you get caught, I believe you should go straight to jail, and not just for a couple of months. You should really get a good sentence on that. So this is rubbish. This is sort of rubbish comment that we've had come up. This is an absolute classic. So another guy here, he's going on about me. He says, his opinion is biased. My opinion is biased on it, right? His primary focus on business interests rather than advocating for the free movement of hunters across public hunting locations. The system he's proposing with paid guides for access to private property, national parks, forestry seems more about profit than ensuring hunters have open access to public lands. So righto, what this guy is saying, that he's pushing for free access, right? Free access. He's talking free there all the time. Free access. Okay. He's worried about people trying to make $1 out of it, right? But he wants it paid for by the government. I'm someone that believes that we should be doing this ourselves and paying for it ourselves. User pays, right? The hunters that are using it should pay for it. The person that doesn't want hunting shouldn't have to pay for this, right? But you are talking about taking taxpayer dollars to fund hunting programs in state forests. Because you say, I pay my taxes, so I should have the right to go hunting. Okay, so you pay your taxes, but so do all the other people as well, right? So they've all got a right to have a vote in this. So let's say we put this to the vote. Let's say we got out there and we put it to the vote. Do the people of Queensland want to see hunting in state forests? Okay, how do you reckon we'll go? Hey, what do you reckon? My thought is we'd go down in a screaming heap, that we would be voted out in an instant. I think there's more people that would say no way than there would be to support it. But if you want to risk it, off you go. Off you go. See how smart you are. Put it to the general public and see what happens. My guess is we'd be wiped out. So what we're saying is it goes through the landowners, goes through the leaseholders, goes through the people that already have got the deer on their country, work with them, have a system there where they can see this as a viable alternative to chopper shoots and poisons and you know, pet meat or human consumption shooting on their property. Give these landowners an option that is better than slaughter, and I think we will see hunting open up like you wouldn't believe. But this guy's straight on the get-go. He's at anybody that makes $1 out of it, but quite happy to stick his nose in the government pig trough and get money out of that. So this is a person that believes in big government, more government, get the government, you know, govern me harder, daddy. You know, this is what they want. You make me sick. Yeah, you just make me sick. I'm not making these up, people. This is written on your own chat pages, right? So what happened is you've proven me right time and time again, and this tragedy the other day really nailed it home, that people do get shot out there. And we do need to clean up our own act, because if we don't clean our own act up, you can expect the government to come in like they're doing in Western Australia, and they will be draconian. They will ride roughshod right over the top of us. And you think it's bad what we have to do to clean our own act up, right? If you think that's bad, you wait till government puts the jackboots on and goes over the top of all of us. If that's what you want, well, that's what you're going to get. But what I've been saying to everybody here is let's clean up our act now before things get too bad. Isn't that being responsible? And this guy here says you can't poach invasive species, right? So what he's putting on here, or what this person, he or she or it or whatever, is saying is that they're an invasive species. No, they're not an invasive species. It's a fancy name that you people have put on to give you the ability to slaughter more of them, right? These are an animal that are only doing what they were put on earth to do, right? They breed, they eat, they run around the hills, they roar, they bash a few trees up, they fight, they grow antlers, all these things. This is what deer do, right? We, the people, put them in here with government permission, okay? They came in, the historic herd that I'm talking about was put here with government permission, right? With the will of the people to put them here. Then they weren't managed for 150 years. And this is what clowns like this can't get through their heads. The reason that they're causing a problem in many areas is not because they're doing anything that we didn't expect them to do. It's because we didn't manage them. We weren't bright enough, we weren't smart enough to start managing them 150 years ago. Right? We wait till there's a big problem, then it's a big problem, and we jump up and down, and we go get into a tither about it because they're causing a problem. We were telling you this 50 years ago that they had to be managed, and you wouldn't listen to it. Different groups like ADA was saying we need management 50 odd years ago, and you wouldn't bloody listen. Right? SSAA has said the same thing. Bow hunters have said it. Landowner groups have said it. And what have government done? Absolutely nothing. And when they get a problem, then they blame the deer. You fellas are being the hypocrite. This fella here is being the hypocrite. Too ignorant to look at the full picture. And here's another comment by that same idiot. And they're saying the definition of white privilege. Landowners, right? White privilege. White privilege. What it means is most landowners, you'll find, they have worked their guts out. They've gone without. They've worked harder than most of you people. Or this guy right in here, I bet, I'd love to get him out here and say, do 1 day hard work. I bet you he couldn't even do a couple of hours hard work. And he'll criticise the landowners. But then he'll go down the shop and want to buy good groceries and want to buy good fruit and veggies or meat or whatever else. But he's so ignorant and so hypocritical that he doesn't know where that comes from, and the blood, sweat and tears that people put in to keep their land as good as what it is in the face of mainly stuff like lantana and giant rat's tail grass and parthenium and capeweed and fireweed and all the other rubbish that's been poured on us around the place. These landowners bust their guts, and hypocrites like this will have a go at them. Well, you're nothing. To me, this Tolt guy, whatever, you're a moron. Here's another guy saying, he said, sorry mate, they're feral animals. He can't even spell either, this guy. They're feral animals, so people like you can't make money off them. It all comes back. Everybody hates the thought that somebody's making money out of feral animals. Hate it, right? They just despise it. And it goes right back to it was a National ADA National Convention that I went to, meeting, and I spoke at it, and I was getting both barrels from the National Secretary at the time. He was yelling that loud. I think Patrick Ross was the president at the time, and he's bashing the hammer on the little wooden thing on the desk, bang, 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 trying to shut this guy up. And this is the National Secretary. and he was screaming that much. He was foaming at the mouth. There was drops of spit land on the table between us. He was foaming, and there's a lot of people around there that would have witnessed it, and it would have been written down, I think, in the minutes if anybody wanted to check. What right have you got to lock up millions of acres for your own personal use? And I tried to say to him, I work on private freehold and leasehold country of landowners, and that's their right. If they give me the right to that, that's a business thing between them and myself, and it's none of your business because it's private country. Where he felt that he had a right to veto the landowners' rights on their own property. A very socialistic attitude, okay? He said, there'll be no commercialisation of deer while I'm alive, okay? And he's probably the main one that's pushed it for years to stop any commercialisation. Me, I'd much rather have people like guides making a dollar out of providing free range, not behind wire hunting in the bush, proper free range hunting to hunters, than see the helicopters working and shooting them and leaving them lie, or shooting them and putting them through a box for pet meat or human consumption, right? I'd much rather see dozens of guides all around this country working with landowners, or if not guides, hunting groups getting onto landowners' country and working with a system there so that the landowners make a few dollars out of it to pay for the damage that those deer do on their property, or deer or goats or whatever else, but giving recreational hunters the access on that country under a system that's not having to be funded by the government. As soon as we go to fund it by the government, then really every taxpayer should have a say in what we do. This is trying to keep it out of the hands of the people that will shut us down overnight. Now, a lot of the comments I'm seeing here are from people who are saying we need a system like New South Wales or Victoria, especially New South Wales with the R licences in state forests and national park areas down there. Righto, so it's about time some of you people did a little bit of homework. And if you want, a good place to start is the ridge position statement that we've got on what the situation is really like here in Queensland. Most people don't realise that we've got a unicameral system of government, meaning one House of Parliament. Down in New South Wales, you've got two houses. You've got an upper and a lower house. Now, the reason you've got a game council, or now a game licensing unit in New South Wales, is because of the hard work of people like John Tingle, Robert Borzak and Robert Brown, to name just a few. What people don't realise is that the Shooters Party got the balance of power in the upper house in conjunction with, I think it was the Reverend Fred Nile from the Christian Democrats, and they basically held the government in New South Wales to ransom on a lot of issues there where their vote was critical to get something across the line. So in the end, they basically said to Robert Borzak, what do you want? And he said a game council, and that's how it started. And that's how all the money that got poured into it to get it started, that's where it came from, because they had the balance of power in the upper house in New South Wales. This is where people are stumbling, and they just can't seem to get it in their head what the actual truth is. We have a unicameral system of government in Queensland, one House of Parliament. We do not have a situation where a few guys can hold the balance of power in the upper house. If we did, I asked Robert Borzak, I said, how do we do this? How can we get this set up in Queensland? And his words to me were, give me $10 million in 10 years and I'll have a crack at it for you, right? So we haven't had that, so we've had to face reality and look at what can be done with the parameters that we have got to work within. That's why we're doing things the way we are.